Now this is one of the steps in the refinishing of this motorcycle. We have spent a lot of time reinforcing everything back here. Everything is pretty much, well, we hope a lot stronger than it was. We've made that piece that goes in here. We've sanded it all through. Now there's one final step, and this is the step that an awful lot of people skip, including myself, of course. Every once in a while I get ants in my pants and I want to get this done, I want to get it done, and I skip a step that if you're doing a color like white, cream, light blue, you can skip the step pretty much and nobody will know. But when you're doing this Kawasaki green, your CAMARO green, whatever you're going to call it, you will see, or red or black, you will see every little dent, ding, pock mark. So the final thing now, I've got all the little spots filled in with Bondo and filler and whatever, and I put a coat of primer on it. Now, a lot of times I've gone and just said, oh, good enough, let's prime it. Let's paint it. But now the problem is, because this is a flat surface doesn't show little imperfections. So what I try to do, because I want it to be really as nice as I can make it, I'll take a sheet of 320 paper. It doesn't really matter, you can do it by hand. But what's going to happen now is when I sand this, a lot of little imperfections are going to come out that you really didn't see because the primer was flat. Then what we're going to do is when I'm all done, and I'm happy I've got all of them sanded out, what I'm going to try to do is get a very, very thin coat of primer on here, and then get a coat of white. The white is going to be for all the striping, and give me a base to put that green on. And when the green goes over to white, you use a lot less green, which I found out the hard way. And believe me, the paint is expensive, as everything we do. So we try to use it efficiently. Now what's going to happen is, when I'm doing this, and I'm just doing one spot at random here to show what I'm talking about, we're going to see little spots come out. And the worse the part is, the more important this is. And I'm getting every high spot, every edge as I go along, all of the edges of these scoops, all of the edges in here. Try to do as much as I can with a block, keep it wet with soapy water. But now this will make a base for my final coat of primer, and then hopefully an hour or so later, assuming it doesn't snow anymore, we can sneak out there and get this painted white. I was taking a garbage out before and almost got killed with an icicle, so I gotta be, when you're working on the edge of the house here, gotta be careful. Anyway, what I wanted to show now, and these are all little things, but in the final product, when you're doing it, any metallic color especially, or any of these colors that show mistakes, oh, look at this. Now, glad we did this. This is just one example. If you look up here, let's see if I can show this. See, this didn't show when it was in primer. See the little spot up there? Little spots here, little spot there. Didn't show when it was in primer. In primer, everything looks great, which is why in the old days they just prime hot rods, because you don't have to do as much body work. Here's a spot here I'm going to work on. This will probably take an hour or so. I take the sandpaper and move it just a little bit and work those areas. And if I see I got to remove a lot of material, I'll go get a little rougher grade of paper, but for right now 320 would be fine. I can always do this. I can turn the paper around, try to use all of the surface area. But it's amazing when you think about how those little pock marks and primer marks and everything, they come back to haunt you. And then you try to fill them with, well, whatever. But the best thing to do is to start with, it's like building a house, start with a nice level foundation. And no matter how much time I spend today on doing this, even if I have to do this sanding thing 2 or 3 times, I want, before I put on the white paint, I want this to be as good as I possibly can make it. Okay, now I've gotten rid of 90% of them. except there's still one here, and I'm sure it looks like a fingernail marker. So I'll turn the sandpaper, because the sandpaper is really just cutting on the edge more than anything else. And I don't need to do this, endlessly, but when it's sanded out, it'll have just a little bit more chance of finding these little mistakes. Now, if we were doing new parts like Najada's doing, basically parts that are brand new, all we have to worry about is where the repairs are. This part, the whole part's a repair. But that's the beauty of this, is when you see it and it looks all ratty and terrible, and you think, oh, there's no way that could ever look new again. Especially when we won't mention any names, but when we have people that have painted it over paint, over paint, over paint, and who knows what, nail polish, Home Depot paint. And now I got to take it all off. Anyway, I'm just moving the sandpaper around. Try to catch some new areas. But it's so important just to have that concept. Now, I had several people send me pictures of other people painting motorcycles, little videos, and they're all good, of course, and you can learn from all of them. But when you want to do this work yourself, then the first thing you have to understand is it's basically not difficult work to do. It's not like, I don't know, it's not like launching a rocket to the moon. It's kind of sloppy and dirty, but every day you work on it, the part looks nicer and nicer, and at some point in time, assuming you do it all and you bring this part up to a nice smooth finish before you paint it, oh, that's gone. Now if you look at it, it's the same part. And this is all I really need to show for right now. I can see I'm getting through. Now I will re-primer this before I paint it white, but all those spots that didn't show, they would have shown in the white. And right here is going to be the logo, the Kawasaki logo, so I don't want to have that either. That's just another thing I don't want to have. So anyway, this is just it. It's one of the things that at this point in the job, to spend a couple extra hours. Now in my case, this is really not funny. I like to think when I was 20 and 30 years old and I painted something, I said, dude, that'll last 10 years or 5 years. Now the term I use is the rest of my life. So at 69 years old, this really only has to last a few years, you know what I mean? It's not like I'm building a pyramids here or anything. But anyway, I do like to have that, and that's an important concept to understand. By the way, this is self-etching primer, which I like the way it sands, I like the way it cuts, and I like to have just that little bit of a, where I'm looking and I can see, and I will spend a lot of time today, any little flaw that shows up now, I want to get it out of the way now. So when I paint this white, I can go the next day, do the tape out, start masking out the trim, get the stickers, the decals, all the whatever on there. But the concept and the whole idea is like building a foundation of a house. And if you skip this step, what I've done in the past, and it doesn't work well at all. You can do it, but boy, it doesn't work. I've tried to skip a couple of these sand out things early on. And what happens is now you get the white on, or the primer, or whatever. And you look and it's not perfect. Well, now when you sand it, you got paint that looks like this and everything. Where if you use this block for most of it, except getting in all little corners and edges, what this block allows you to do is get it flat. And as I've always told anybody that's learned how to paint in my shop, the most important thing is to have a flat surface. Once it's flat, you can do anything you want. If it's not flat, and any little thing, any mistake you see here, yeah, you can cover it with green, it's going to show through the green. Then you cover it with clear, it's going to show through the clear. Then you put the bike out in the sun on a hot day, and it's going to be, that part is going to, of course, paint is alive, it's constantly changing. So, from temperature and humidity and everything, it's always moving just a little bit. So what really happens is, the more perfect you get it down at the bottom, the nicer it's going to be at the top. And not only nice, it's going to stay nice. It's not going to all of a sudden just wrinkle up on you. And everybody that's ever done it, I know, you know the feeling. If you get to the point where it's all done, you buff it all out, you put the bike together, you go for a ride or whatever, you come home, you go, that little ripple wasn't there, or a little, the worst thing is a bubble where the paint isn't sticking down. And that's why I emphasize right now, this is a difficult step to take care of, but it's one of the steps that really pays, and it absolutely pays to do it in the long run. Now, at the end of all of these little videos, I always do this. I don't know why I do this. I want to turn some lights on here. We did the gas cap. Now, I know that what I did with the gas cap, I tried not to put too much clear on, because I know inevitably we're going to chip it. It's going to take a beating. This piece has to open and close easily. The screws are going to be, you know, I have to constantly be watching that I don't have a leak there or anything. Now, here's that little piece that I made a little carbon fiber piece for that snaps on there, or in our case attaches some other way. And I try to look at it every day. Just these are the little parts that are going to go on the scoop. And again, if you're looking for that kind of finish, black is the hardest color to get perfect. That is very, very difficult. I buffed this one out the other day. The windshield, buffing the windshield. Again, all these things, when you want them to be perfect at the very end, it's so much easier to start if they're perfect at the very beginning. You just really stack the deck in your favor. And some of the things that I'm, you know, hopefully been able to share, and I'm going to put my email address is windyu@AOL, because I know I have a whole bunch of new people that are, since we've been putting the videos of this track bike out there, seems like we have a few new track bike friends. Anyway, I hope this has been fun to watch, and hope you'll come over and have soup in our shop one of these days.